The government's civilian space agency is undergoing a technology transformation. NASA's leadership says it's transforming in 3 different ways. Ron Thompson is Chief Data Officer at NASA. He's also Deputy Digital Transformation Officer. Ron, thanks very much for coming on the program. Appreciate your time today. You write about the 3 ways that you're transforming. It's work, the workforce, and the workplace. How are you attacking each one of those, Ron?
Sure. Thanks, Francis, and good to see you. And thank you for having me on today. So these are really the why of our enterprise DT transformational goals here. We are really looking at these 3 components as the key 3 tiers of how we deliver our complex mission, and year over year, how we do our work is getting more and more complex with our external partners, with our private sector relationships we have, our international partners, and we're expected to deliver our work on shorter tight lines and have bolder outcomes and obviously inspire the world in what we do. And then our workforce, we're really looking for a way that we seamlessly integrate our employee experience at NASA. We really want to energize our people and make sure they're connected throughout the enterprise consistently, and we improve what they do and deliver on high value work. And then the workplace, this is where we're really looking to make sure we work in a really cyber environment like we're in right now that is flexible, adaptable, and then effective and efficient as possible.
So this plan was underway before the virus, Ron. How has the virus impacted it? Has it changed the direction? Have you accelerated? How has this affected the way that you're going about your transformation?
Well, the really unique thing with NASA is we have a workforce that is absolutely agile in what we do. So the first thing is protect our people. And when the virus first launched back, in March of last year, we wanted to make sure our people were safe. We had the foresight to have the technology in place to work in a virtual environment. So we were one of the first agencies that actually pushed out very early and really have met all of our major milestones for the organization. So protecting our people was first and foremost. Giving them the tools and ability to do what they needed to do actually was in place, and we executed on that very, very nicely.
One of the hard changes in any kind of transformation like this is always culture, Ron. How are you trying to change the culture and then keep it changed rather than letting people backslide into their old habits?
Absolutely, Francis. So luckily for us, change is in everything we do. You go back and look at NASA history. We every obstacle that was put in front of us or opportunity that was put in front of us, we've excelled and met. Going to the moon back in '60. Having safety concerns. We actually overcame those. So we are working on the culture change and how we look at things. And we work better collectively than we do alone. So that's the first tenet of what we're doing. That realization that we need to come together and have that synergy to absolutely chip in and see where we need to move as an agency. And that collectiveness is really taking us into a lot of different places. That speed to market for our solutions and what we do for our work has greatly increased during this time. Once we realized it's not just a organizational view of things, it is a holistic view across the enterprise.
You point out the successes that you've had. One of them is this transition to remote work that we've discussed, and there are others. Why is it important in a transformation like this, Ron, to point out the wins that you've had while you're in the middle of the transformation rather than waiting till the end?
Well, absolutely. I think folks need to see that it is value in transforming the way we've done things in the past and how we need to work differently in the future. The agile way of working, we actually were doing things during our COVID period where we put a contact tracing app in place. So we're able to, once folks have tested positive, we're able to see where they've been. We used our data analytics capability through a COVID decision lens to show early on in the pandemic where the center, where the localized center cases were increasing and where to make a determination to push out virtually. And then we're developing a vaccine tracking application and looking at ways to make sure that we are protecting our workforce through the vaccine.
There are a number of data elements that you've mentioned, and I said at the beginning of this conversation, you're also the CDO at NASA. It strikes me as you're talking about some of these things, a lot of the things that you're undertaking 5 years ago, maybe longer, wouldn't have been possible at all just because of the inability, I'm not picking on NASA, every agency in government had the same problem, to wrap their arms around the data that they had and really be able to analyze it. Is that a fair observation, Ron?
It is, Francis. I think what we're seeing with the legislation like through the Evidence Act, we're seeing data as a strategic asset. This is no longer about the container or applications. It's all about the data. So we need to make sure the data is absolutely adds value to mission critical need. It is the quality of data is accurate, and we're seeing now across multiple agencies, across the CDO Council, for example, the Federal CDO Council, our ability to share data across federal federal entities is absolutely increasing. We did this early during the COVID crisis. About 6 months ago, we shared data quite nicely across that community. So data is becoming more front and center. We have a long way to go to make sure folks really understand the value of what that data is, make sure the quality is where it needs to be, and make sure the veracity is where it needs to be too.
Ron Thompson, thanks very much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Francis.